Hi, I'm Andrew, and this is Viki. We are your lathe leads for the 2020 to 2021 season. In this installment of the GRT lathe training videos, you will learn how to use the turning, facing, and parting tools on the lathe. Before we get started though, remember to make sure you are following the safety rules of the shop. Wear your safety glasses at all times. Always roll up your sleeves. Tie back your hair. Make sure your shorts reach below the knees. Wear closed-toe shoes. And check the people around you.
Today, we will show you the basic lathe operations through creating the part shown here. You will learn how to read drawing sheet dimensions and translate them to lathe operations. As a reminder, we will refer to the length of lathe stock as this dimension, to the diameter as this dimension, and to the end face as this area. For this demonstration, we will start with a piece of 1/2 inch diameter stock that has been cut 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch longer than the desired length. Then we will reduce the total length to 1 inch as indicated on the drawing sheet here. Most parts for GRT robots are machined to dimensions that are either plus or minus 5/1000ths of an inch or plus or minus 25/1000ths of an inch relative to the dimension specified on the drawing sheet. To achieve this level of accuracy requires setting a defined 0 point on your stock and using the precision measurement provided by the lathe's digital readout, or DRO. The DRO tracks and displays the X and Y coordinates of the lathe carriage relative to an operator's set reference point, or 0, on each of the axes. The carriage is the part of the lathe that moves along the ways of the lathe, carrying the tool post to specific locations. The X-axis is mapped along the spindle and length of your stock, increasing or decreasing with movement of the carriage to the right or left. The Y-axis is mapped across the diameter of your stock, increasing or decreasing with movement of the carriage into the lathe body and out of the lathe body. To move the carriage along the X-axis, grasp the X-axis handwheel and turn it clockwise to move it to the right and counterclockwise to move it to the left. Watch the carriage as you move it so that it doesn't bump into the chuck or collet. To move along the Y-axis, grasp the Y-axis handwheel and turn clockwise to go into the lathe body and counterclockwise to go out of the lathe body. Note that the DRO doesn't track motion along the Z-axis, which is mapped up and down the diameter of your stock and is determined by the tool height. Zeroing is the process of setting a specific location as a reference point for measurement. On the lathe, this reference point is typically set where the edge of the tool just barely touches the face, the X-axis 0, and the front edge, the Y-axis 0 of the part. Take note that whenever you insert a tool holder into the tool post, you will need to make sure that there are no chips between the tool holder or tool post, as they will affect the accuracy and repeatability of your reference points. We typically zero the X-axis first since it is needed for all 3 operations of turning, facing, and parting. Here are the steps for zeroing the X-axis. With the motor off, insert your stock securely into the collet or chuck. Insert the appropriate tool onto the tool post. Slowly move the cutting edge of the tool to the face of the stock. The tool used in turning and facing has its cutting edge at the top left point of the tool, as seen here. When bringing your tool to the face of the part, you should approach slowly and stop once you feel pressure from turning the handwheel. When you feel resistance and it looks like the cutting edge is touching the face of the part, reach over to the DRO and click the X-axis 0 button to the right of the X value LED display. you want to turn the hand wheel gently in this step so that the tool doesn't dig into the material and give you an incorrect 0. Confirm your 0 by backing off and finding the x-axis 0 again. The DRO should read within plus or minus 0.03 of an inch of the previous 0. If not, repeat the process until you get 2 consecutive zeros within plus or minus 0.03 of an inch. Note that if you have just faced your stock material and have not yet moved the carriage away from the face, you can zero the x-axis at this position by clicking the x-axis 0 button on the DRO. The turning operation on the lathe is used to decrease the diameter of a part, leaving the turn stock uniformly cylindrical and radially symmetric about the lathe spindle's axis of rotation. Because unturned stock is not perfectly cylindrical, it must be turned down to uniform diameter before we zero the y-axis and measure the stock diameter. Only then can we calculate how much material needs to be turned down to reach a specified dimension. Here are the steps for turning your stock and zeroing the y-axis. With the motor off, move the cutting tool into the lathe until it just touches the surface of the stock. Press the y-axis 0 button on the DRO. This will not be the final 0 value. Retract the tool and move the carriage to the right so that the tool no longer touches the part. Bring the tool back to the Y0 and then move it into the lathe until the DRO reads 0.005 or 0.05 of an inch. This will remove a total of 0.05 of an inch from the diameter of the part or 2.5 of an inch from the radius on both sides as the part rotates. Turn the lathe motor on and add a thin coat of oil to the stock surface. Slowly move the cutting edge of the tool down the surface of the stock, turning the x-axis knob counterclockwise until you have turned more than halfway along the length of the stock. Click the y-axis 0 button to the right of the y value display on the DRO. This is the final y0 value. Retract the tool in the y direction, turning the y-axis handwheel counterclockwise, and turn the motor off. Examine the turn stock to confirm that there is no flat areas left unturned. If there are any flat areas, make another turning pass, moving the tool 0.05 of an inch further into the stock. Measure the turn diameter with calipers and write the dimension on your drawing sheet. For this sample part, the diameter is 0.491 inches. Now you can turn the stock down to the final specified dimension. Typically, this requires multiple passes, turning the material down no more than 0.50 of an inch in any one pass, and then turning down 0.10 to 0.15 of an inch on the second to last pass, and just 0.02 to 0.03 of an inch on the final pass to leave a smooth finish. For the sample part, because we need to remove a total of 0.250 inches from the diameter, we will begin by removing 0.50 of an inch. Move the carriage forward until the DRO Y value reads 0.50 inches, and turn to the same point along the stock length. Repeat with passes of 0.50 inches and once you are within 50 thousandths inches, switch to passes of 10 thousandths inches and save 2 thousandths of an inch for your final pass. After your stock is turned to the specified diameter, remove the stock from the collet, wipe it clean, flip it around, insert the turned end into the collet, and repeat the facing and turning processes on the other end of the stock. And that does it for the third installment of the GRT gun lathe training series. You should now understand how to zero the X and Y axes, the basics behind parting, facing, and turning material on the lathe, and how to adjust the height of your tools. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them during class so that everybody can learn the answers. Stay safe. I hope to see you all working here soon.